Daniel, welcome to the arena. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. We're going to be talking about four things that I heard you say the other day: mindset, heartset, healthset, and soulset. I've never heard those terms before, and I think they really resonate with a lot of people listening to this. Can you share a little bit more? What are these four pillars that build your company?
Yeah, man. Well, these are the four interior empires that I align all of my coaching to. When it comes to peak performance, I believe these four interior empires really drill down to everything and anything that we can build our life in a really holistic, like success in a holistic way. When we look at really successful entrepreneurs, I trust that resonates with probably a majority of your audience, or even CEOs, founders, digital nomads, lifestyle creators. What we find is and including myself, as me included as well, we might have one or two of those empires that are really well developed, and it comes at the expense, this hustle energy or this relentless determination. We forget about the other empires, those interior empires that are really important for the holistic success.
Yeah.
So it's coming back to the four equally.
So what I'd like to do then is, why don't we break them down one by one, and then afterwards we'll go about where you were in your life when you actually came across, like, these are the four empires that actually matters. Starting with mindset as one of the main empires that a human who's going after peak performance needs to build. What are some key pillars in the mindset aspect? What are some things that are neglected, and then what are some things that are really important to focus on?
Mindset is a major pillar. I think mindset it's so well versed, it's so well discussed. Like, everyone talks about mindset. It's almost like mindset is everything. That's the vibe that I get. And, especially when it comes to hustling and grinding and building business, mindset is, if you look at high achieving people, often overachieving people, they've got a really great mindset versus, the people that are in victimhood, or they're not achieving a lot, they're kind of just getting by. Their mindset, they don't seem to have that motivation or that drive, or the ability to really show up when it matters, or that commitment. And I think having a really great, strong mindset is what allows us to go out and, and we'll talk about this in a moment. It's more than just conquering the world, but at least to begin with, getting out of bed, doing some hard shit, hustling through and connecting with something that's really incredible.
Right.
Mindset allows us to start the momentum, really get going and start seeing some results. Without a really healthy mindset, it kind of means sitting there doing nothing, not much changing.
In one of the previous shows, we just talked about how there's an inertia phase to getting something started that most people will never overcome. I think that's what mindset might help with. It's a muscle that we can train to overcome the fear or the anxiety of getting started. And the more we train, the more we can train the muscle that shortens the time between thought and action, I think that is mindset. I see something hard and I know I got to go through it because it makes me better.
That determination.
That's something I did want to drug. So going from mindset, then, I think arguably the next thing is more important. It's heartset.
Yeah.
How do you define heartset, and why is it so important to an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I don't know whether more important. I would agree with that. I think it's just undervalued or underrated, or there's not enough awareness around it. So mindset, it's like, in contrast, everyone's talking about mindset all the time, and it's like that's all of it, but it's only really 25% when we look across the four interior empires. And so the heart set, the emotionality, the emotional connection and intimacy with self, with others, the world, becoming really passionate and connected with what we're doing, it's undervalued, it's underrated. And so to give you an idea, you can have, no matter how good your mindset is, that hustle, that grind, turn up, get shit done kind of energy. If we're carrying around the baggage of the past, the hurt, the fear, the resentment, I see a lot of self-anger, or where people are neglecting, no matter how good your mindset is, you're not going to be able to show up in a world in a healthy, joyous, functional, happy way that you connect with yourself and with others, to have the presence and the focus and really build something that's a lot lighter than just grind, go at the expense of yourself.
And what does heartset look like? What are some elements that make up building your heartset empire?
It's a really great question. This is my jam. This is where I love coaching and the most. And so when we're looking at high functional entrepreneurs, often it comes at that grit, that drive, determination, and the success comes at the expense of themselves. And often it's that emotionality, the emotional intimacy with self. And what's emotional intimacy with self? It's understanding the full range of emotions. It's for most people, and it depends on the culture, but I've seen it the other way around. It's like, we're really comfortable with excitement maybe, or we're really comfortable with challenge, or really comfortable with going after that thing. But what about being really comfortable with the vulnerability of sadness or weakness? And it's not really weakness, or the comfort in grief when it comes to personal development and stepping into that person we want to become. There is it's that death of who it is that we were, and there's a grieving process through that. A lot of people, we haven't been taught to grieve. It's demonstrated to us sadness is not okay, especially in the environment that I grew up in as a man. You gotta cry, you gotta show that kind of weakness. Vulnerability, that's for the woman, that's not for the men. And these other things. But that's what it allows us to connect with ourselves, to bring all of us along on the journey, to be full, able, complete, to step into these challenges. And then when we're able to do that with ourselves, we can do that with others.
Yeah.
And now we've got this real great connection happening. Right. So we're networking, or everything in life is relationships.
I used to, similar like you mentioned, I grew up in a family of strong men. My grandpa fought in World War II. My dad was in the military. I grew up playing football, where it's all about toughness, being tough, going out into the world and being a warrior. I guess back in the day, if you came home from a hard day of work and you show your wife you're not a tough man, it was looked down upon. And so I grew up not really feeling emotion, not really. You hear a lot of gurus out there that coach you on doesn't fucking matter how you feel. You got to get shit done regardless of how you feel. And I think there's some time and a place, because not everything you do in this world is going to feel easy. And that's where the mindset comes in. But I heard something from one of my mentors, is Alex Sharfen. He said, feeling is healing. And before that, I could give a shit about how a lot of people felt around me, how I felt. I would just show up and execute and say what I wanted to say, and hurt some people, hurt myself, whatever. But when I realized that feeling is healing, and I started to know what that felt like, or started to actually feel sad sometimes and be like, what does that mean? What am I doing in business that is causing me to feel sad? Or I feel lost or anxious. And I'm like, okay, I feel anxious. Rather than head down, pound through it, it gets worse usually, or it manifests in other symptoms. Stop for a moment and listen to that.
Yeah.
What is that trying to show me? And a lot of times it shows you some hard things that you have to go through. And I would say that I've had the courage to go through those things. That's the lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn. But on the other side, it's the fastest way to destroy that feeling. And go from anxious to excited. Go from fear to confidence. And it's really, you have to listen to your body, meet yourself where you're at, allow yourself to feel that emotion, get clear on what's causing it, and then walk yourself out.
Yeah.
Walk yourself into the future state you want to be in. So I think Heartset, like you said, is maybe not more important than the other empires, but it's definitely one of the more underrated things.
As a developer,
So it's not spoken about.
I like looking at feelings as, I use the analogy, it's like a fart. Yeah, and hold a fart in. Right. It doesn't feel comfortable. It needs to come in.
Right.
And that's what all emotions are. Emotion is energy. Emotion, I think life is experience, which is emotion. And so if we're suppressing, we're abandoning it, we're disconnecting from these emotions. Humans are emotional entities.
Right.
We need to experience a full range of emotions. And if we're suppressing them, we're literally suppressing elements of our life, our being, and who it is that we are. Nothing good comes from it.
Right.
But then we look at the science. Sickness comes from really holding it in. You holding a fart long enough, I think it would die. So it's the same with emotions. And if we're not releasing them, then what happens is we start pushing them down. And one of the big things that people come to me and they go, Dan, I'd love to experience more happiness and joy and presence and love and connection in my life. Can you coach me to that? And I can. But the path is not going to be pretty for most people. Right. It's not going to be the path that they want, because what it means is the happiness and the joy is not getting more of it. It's already there. It's just buried under all the shame and the anger and the frustration, all these things that we weren't allowed to express, or it wasn't demonstrated to us to express, to release. But as we go through the process, we release it, and they're like, holy shit, like these feelings are coming out that I haven't had for a long time. I remember this from when I was a child, this playfulness, this curiosity, this presence in life. And I think that's one of the most important things if we want to come back to being really present in our life and our business and with each other. It's healing through, as you say, feeling and healing through these pressed emotions.
I think this is so important in the entrepreneurship world, especially because you've heard like the science show or society says in general, like a lot of us entrepreneurs who want to achieve big things, the journey usually starts by being driven by negative emotions, charges. You were bullied in school, you didn't get the shit that you want, you grew up in a bad environment, you never had the things that all your friends had. I know, at least like for me, I've experienced a lot of that. And my main driving emotion was anger and the need for validation. It came from people telling me I would never be who I wanted to be as a kid, and never feeling accepted in the friend groups in the city that I grew up. I was always like the outsider, and it was usually due to like a cultural difference or whatever, but that just made me want to do bigger and bigger shit. But it wasn't from a sense of this is what I want to do. It was more of a sense of like, I'm gonna fucking do this no matter what it takes to prove these people wrong. What you realize on this journey though is to achieve the things that you want, you have to change so much as a human.
Yeah.
But before you even get to that point where it's like, I'm going to prove those guys wrong, like those guys are so far behind and left so far in the past that it doesn't even matter. And you get to a point where I think it changes from like, I'm doing this to prove a point to the world versus like, I now do this because this makes me fulfilled and happy. And it has a big purpose.
Big difference. Well, you're talking about anger, being driven by anger. Anger is one of the most powerful, energetic experiences we can have. I love the saying that anger is a really great catalyst for change, but it doesn't make a great comrade on the journey.
Right.
So we want to use it. We want to embrace it. We want to go, and it will propel you into doing epic things, but then realize that it's played its part, let go of it, bring forgiveness. Usually a forgiveness often looks like for others, but it's actually forgiveness for ourselves and that resentment, and then go on the journey. And, you know, the story that you share, I think all of us and every successful person can resonate with that in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so there's no shame around that, but it's also going, okay, what's the level that we want to live our lives at? And at some point need to make a conscious decision of letting go of, you know, making it, you know, needing that significance for others and start allowing ourselves to give ourselves that gratitude, that significance, and valuing ourselves.
Right.
Now it's not about doing it for the external validation. We're doing it because this is meaningful to us. And that's a great evolution.
Yeah, when you live as like a leader from the heart, you feel emotions. I think you see this when you travel the world and you meet entrepreneurs abroad. Typically, those types of people I've noticed are more open, they're warm. Yeah, so about like feeling both ends of the spectrum, I think is very important. For you to feel a certain level of depth in love, you have to also be okay feeling the other end. And especially in groups of men, it's not common to be that vulnerable. So moving on from Heartset, we covered mindset, Heartset. What is the next main empire that you call Healthset? What are the elements that make up Healthset?
Yeah, this one is like 50-50 when it comes to hyper entrepreneurs. In some ways, not in all ways, but the Healthset, and as an internal empire, health I see is like being like the health and the vitality. And why vitality is so important, like, you know how much it takes to show up to business, to show up to your clients, to do epic things. And I believe if we're on this journey and we're in entrepreneurship, there's something within us, whether it's driven by the anger or driven by the love or driven by whatever, we want to become legendary in our space.
Right.
Like, who doesn't want to become the very best that they can be in the space, in the battlefield that they're fighting in, right? So, and in order to do that, to become legendary, you got to stay in the game long enough to really do epic things. You know, you see the one-hit wonders, they come in, they're gone. That's not legendary. Legendary are the ones that have been in the game for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, a lifetime. Now, in order to do that, you can't die.
Right. And so health is more of like a longevity game.
Yeah.
So what's your approach then as an entrepreneur, peak performer? What's your approach on health and fitness to play the long game?
Well, the first thing is vitality. So I'm 35 now. I'm already starting to feel the signs. You know, my body's not quite as fit as it used to be. You know, through injury and needing more sleep. And now I got my Whoop that tracks all my sleep and my recovery and that kind of thing. So health, I'm not a health coach, but there's so many elements to when it comes to health and vitality. But at least being aware of it. Getting what the science shows is even more important than getting your 8 hours of sleep a night is getting the consistency of sleep. Having that routine, waking up and going to bed that's going to align with your schedule, but then you have enough capacity in your morning to really focus in on yourself, dial in for yourself first. I love morning routines. And then go through your day that you're not going to be stressing yourself out or going and overtraining at the gym. I used to do that with CrossFit, and then I was fatigued and I couldn't show up for my clients in the best possible way. It's things like don't go and binge on heaps of alcohol, like drinking, it's socialization, but see that as a major form of escapism to numb out from the discomforts within, whether it's stress or loneliness and that kind of thing. That all plays a role in health. Right. And then, you can go down the whole path of extra vitamins, fitness. So many studies around fitness, like longevity is really related to the strength of your legs.
Right.
I thought that was an incredible study. So, like, the strength of my legs is going to determine how many more years I'm going to live at the other end.
And more specifically, actually, the studies show it's your balance and your coordination.
Yeah.
And so the Chinese say that longevity starts with the feet. Which is our roots. So this has been very interesting. Like, I'm sure you've seen biohackers wearing the crazy toad-looking shoes. I mean, I've got a pair of the Vivo Barefoots. They look a little better, but I actually went through a lot of like pain, back pain, imbalances. And so I went down the journey of going from like ego lifting as a football player who trained at a high level, like pumping max weight, to now, how can I maximize my body to feel good long term? Because that's ultimately what I realize it's about. And when you start to do the weird things in the gym, like balancing on a Bosu or whatever, you realize like how unstable you are. The more I've trained that, the more I feel stronger overall, because it's like your nervous system is fully wired. And I'm not a neuroscientist, but I could almost guess that there's a correlation between my muscles all firing as one, my body feeling as one, and thinking as one.
And absolutely. Or Stephen Kotler from the Flow Collective, he's a great person to follow, and like the science and the data that comes out of their studies, it blows my mind. It's incredible.
Right. And so it's like if you're fully connected muscularly, whatever the word is, that is, if you're fully connected in that sense, it's like I almost guess that my thoughts flow, my electrical signals flow through my whole body. So that's my approach personally to training.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are like, oh, it doesn't matter what you eat, calorie in, calorie out, or it's about just pushing max weight, pumping the most blood into your muscles. I'm like, cool. But I can almost promise them I feel less pain. I could probably run a whole lot further than a lot of these huge guys you see.
For sure.
And I'm curious how they feel when they're 80 and how they'll look when they're 80 versus like, I don't need to be the biggest guy.
Well, it depends on the outcome that you're going for, right? And, in the context of what we're talking about in peak performance and longevity, it's really about being healthy and functional, being able to go through your day and with vitality and being healthy and active. And so all of those things are important. And then also, our diet, what we're going to be eating, but then our sleep, and then our rituals around, whether it's ice baths or in those water baths.
Vitality for me almost sounds like the picture that pops in my head is I'm sipping a cold carrot juice or a nice lemonade that's just like nourishing my body as I am like on the beach somewhere. What does vitality really mean?
Yeah, vitality for me, in the simplest terms, it means being able to turn up to not just my abilities, but the things that I'm passionate about, the activities. This is another thing, actually, I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't really have that many hobbies or interests, but being able to take care of business, or like, even somebody in a corporate job, this is me, go and take care of all my responsibilities in my work, and then I get home and I'm too tired to do anything with my life.
Right.
And so I believe that entrepreneurship's even harder than the corporate hustle. Right. So we got to take care of all of that and then still show up to life and all the things that we love doing, and our relationships, and probably for many people, their kids, and all of that. It's vitality for me, being able to take care of it.
Right. Vitality is like having the energy to do life.
Yeah.
Literally, like the vital energy to live your life to the fullest.
That's all the time. Yeah.
So that's Healthset. We've covered your mindset, your Heartset, your Healthset. Real quickly, what is the elements of Soulset?
Yeah, Soulset's a big one. This is the one that I'm probably less versed on, but I think personal development, and whichever way you take it, whether it's through coaching or through reading or through tapping into your truest essential self, it's a spiritual journey. So soul and spirituality, not to get confused with religion. Religion is, I think, is something else. Everyone's got their own beliefs around that. For me, the soul set and the spirituality is tapping back into my essential self. Personal development, this whole journey of life, for me, in a spiritual sense, is it's learning, rediscovering, and reconnecting with who it is that I was born to be. Before, I was conditioned through what my parents told me, what society and schooling said, what the laws said, and what the expectations of others, and all this. I think for all of us, we're conditioned to be someone that we're not, and we become conscious of going, I have a responsibility to be who it is that I was born to be, and come back to that. Yeah, they say, look within, the answers are within. I looked there, that shit was empty. So what I started realizing is it's more when we be present and we start listening and listening to what our body is saying, what our emotions are saying, what the inner parts of us are saying. It's actually listen within, and we start hearing those clues and those cues. It's like a whisper inside. That's what I believe is really following that journey of Soulset. Right. And so spirituality and that journey is different for everyone, but really it's become present to who it is that I am, right. Really taking care of my own needs, not being too worried about rocking the boat out there, right. Because I know this is me and this is where I'm going, and the people that truly love me and and they're going to support and champion me where I'm going. So right. It's all the big journey that I'm still figuring out.
So in the simplest terms, it's like building this relationship with yourself where you can trust the voice inside of you, be led by that voice inside of you, and at the same time just like have conviction that whatever journey you're on is always going to work out the best way possible. Accepting things as they come, taking on challenges, knowing that they're going to bring you lessons. And it's just like the muscle of the mindset, and also the muscle of like listening to your heart, training the heart. It's the same thing with listening to your soul, your spirit. Well, dude, it's been a really great convo, obviously, talking about the 4 empires, the mindset, the Heartset, the Healthset, and the Soulset. I think there's a ton more that people can learn about these 4 empires. Where, if they want to learn more, can they connect with you? What's the best way to go deeper on these 4 empires?
Yeah, I want to do it with me, Daniel Lawson, Parallax Transformations, Peak Performance Coach. Search any of those. I hope I'm on page 1 on Google by now. Instagram, Facebook.
So the fastest way to find it will be linked in the descriptions. They can definitely find you. Yeah, but dude, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for entering the arena and sharing your lessons and your takeaways from your days battling it out in the arena, and definitely feel like you're going to impact the world with these 4 empires. And until next time, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the arena. Peace.
Beautiful.